Okay, now that you understand the reasons we're doing some exercises, let's make a small program for you. One of the big things is cardiovascular. Cardiovascular. Cardio is the heart component, vascular is the rest of the body. So if you're tight and compressed everywhere, how is the heart going to push blood and oxygen into the muscles that need it? You need some expansive ability that the flow can go down into the muscles. Exercise in itself is a compressive force. You're compressing the muscles. You push, you create lactic acid, you create byproducts in here that the body's got to get out with your exhale. You shouldn't now if you do a loose exercise, this you could do forever in a day. You should be able to do this until you're bored, really. But feel it's not a really huge compressive force. There's not a lot of muscle fibers that are required. You just need enough to move your arm. But imagine you're going to lift up a heavy weight. What is it? 5 pounds? Is that your heavy weight? Your muscle has to act differently. There will be more byproducts produced. You have to be able to breathe, get the byproducts out. Now, if this is heavier, what if it's 40 pounds? What if it's a gardening pot? Um, you have to pick something out of your car, your tire, something that requires you to be full of life and strength. You don't have many in you. So when we do weight training, 8 is the magic number. 8 is really when your muscles stop being utilized well. And your body is either very good at getting blood to the muscle or it's better at getting rid of the toxins as they're building up. You're not good at both. People that burn too fast, 4 or 5, ease off. Like, how's your breath work? For those that can keep going like forever, like look at all this energy wasted as I bob around. That is not going into my bicep. It there's I'm back to this one. It's a whole bunch of wasted energy and wasted motion. My spine doesn't need this. So cardiovascular is important, both in the warm up. So if you're going for a walk, are you able to pull blood and oxygen into your muscles? And does your heart pump? Do you get your diaphragm to move down, which actually pulls on the heart? Every time you inhale, it pulls the heart down a little. And it's this nice little string that pulls down, it kind of suffocates. And then when you let go and you breathe out, this string pops up and it gushes the heart full of its own blood supply around it. It's quite cool to watch when people breathe well, the heart getting juiced up. And you need expansive compressive forces for all. It's like kinking a garden hose. You compress it and then you let it go, and the water shoots through it. That's what you're looking for inside of you. So cardiovascular, you've got to get moving. You've got to get that warmed up. Are you suffocating yourself? What does your warm up need to be? Arm pumps, arms up, leg pumps, your walk, skipping rope. Oh my God, if you can skip rope 2 minutes, it's a pretty good warm up. So then we're going to go into our standing supported trunk rotation. We already talked about these rotational forces through the sternum and also how you use your feet. One foot comes up on the chair, standing, of course, not on the outside of your foot, because the outside of your foot means you're losing control of rotation. You're losing that ability to force. So weight through the arch of your foot, all toes on the ground. Please don't compensate with leaning and get yourself under control. So if you're still wobbling over here, you can't layer on another aspect. That's really important. So you've got one knee bent, one extended. Now I need to get this rotation. This is important about rotation. Watch my hip over here. If I'm in back extension, I'm not rotating. I think I am, but I'm not. I just went into that scared back extension pose. You've got to sense this arch of your foot. Turn one side of your lung back. Now, remember, if you were walking and you were going to this side, you would actually move onto this side. This lung, this arm's got to go back as this hip goes forward. This idea of turning, moving over the foot. The arch drops a bit because I'm moving. If I'm rolled out here, I can't, the body won't let you go over. That's why you do the foot out thing, rolling through the arch and then getting a sense of where you are in space. You're not trying to get to any end range. There is nowhere to go. You're just trying to get more sense of breath into the back lung. Sorry, yes. You're going to get breath into the back lung here, more air, the front lung here. Breathe. Good. Both arms can come alive in this one and then ease off. Could you do 5 per side? Lengthen your waist, equal on both sides. You hear those cues a lot in any kind of class you go to, but a lot of us don't feel that we're doing this. And here's why it's really important to get a sense of where are you in space? Because if someone says lengthen both sides of your waist and you say, yes, I have, how can we help you get further, especially if you're online? So that rotation is coming from your chest, not just the low back and the neck. Good. Get a sense of where you are. Breathe. This is a really huge component to get. If that's quite difficult for you, there is another way we can do this. It opens up the brain neurologically very well. You lay down with one foot on the wall, and it's again in the arch. Careful, it isn't in line with your pubic bone. Push into the wall and sense all 4 points of your foot, especially that you can push through the arch. There's a power in it, your big toe mound. It's not that you lose any, you don't roll. The other leg comes up, palm faces your head, and breathe. Now you're going to slowly push into the wall and see if it takes you. I don't want to roll like a sausage. It's how does pushing into the foot make you turn a bit more in the sternum? Now you're laying on your side, right? I'm laying on my left lung more than my right lung. So I have a dead stop. It's not the same as standing. So my sense of where I am is a little different. How do you manage that? Is your inner thigh on? Is your glute on? Are you able to push into the wall and down into your baseboard? If you've got a thick baseboard, if you don't have a big baseboard, put a ball under your heel. Those are your cross connects. Generally, we need to do the right foot on the wall. So if you want, you can do right, left, but finish with your right one straight, your left one bent. Feel your left abs and breathe out quite a long time. The longer you exhale, the more core work you will start to feel. Deadlift. That's fun. Put your hands on your bottom of your bum. Good. It isn't about how far you go to the ground, but how you can engage muscles if you wanted them to. So deadlifts, how do you trigger the muscle back here without squeezing and pushing your bum forward? This is a big mistake. Many people really just clench their bum and they end up pushing the pelvis and the femurs too far forward. Push your heels into your imaginary shoes, or if you have shoes on, push them into your heel cups. And you're trying to move your bum back and get these muscles to stretch, right where your butt meets your leg muscle. Be very cognizant that you are not changing the shape of your back as you bend over. Then find more power to stand up. Inner thighs and back of the legs are on. Some people need to let that tension go. So if you already have really tight glutes, let go at the top. Some of us, those glutes just don't come on very easily. You're trying to lengthen them and shorten them, keeping them on and in control. Did your weight shift again to the outside of one foot? It's going to activate everything differently. That's why the sense of your feet are so important. These are deadlifts. The biggest mistake I see is we call it breaking the spine. People are just in a hurry to get over, or it becomes a squat. It's just not clean. This is about how much you can pivot at the hip socket, the bottom of the pelvis where your legs go into the socket themselves. Deadlift. Now our push-up is important. We actually aren't going to do a push-up, but we're going to do a plank. I'd like you to get a large book, perhaps 3 inches, maybe 2 to 3. So if you don't have if you don't have a thick book, just grab a couple. Then you will put them under your left hand. So this is my left, but I'm going to mirror you. Find this nice, it's like a deadlift / plank. If you put your hands and push into both of them. So again, we got to get out of this compressive force pushing us forward. Resist gravity. These are like your new feet. Breathe. Which side gets more air? Are you able to stabilize your bum wiggling? So your left hand is going to help your left lung go to the ceiling. I should look uneven. One shoulder blade should be in a different height because of the book. Some people will just collapse completely. They'll bend the elbows and they'll still just make a, we're not resisting gravity here. Gravitational forces are winning. You're losing. Good, breathe. Good. Come up to standing between that. Just sense how you feel. If your neck is tight, you're probably doing it wrong. This might not be the exercise for you, but a lot of times it gives people their shoulder mobility back. So that's under your left hand. You could try 3 sets, depending on which program you've been given. 3 sets of 3 is a great way to start. As you get stronger, so now I've placed this under my left hand, try to stand in or lengthen yourself into a plank. If you can't do it that way, you can do it on the hands and knees. You're still trying to get this turn. Don't go to the kneecaps out here. It's a bit of a dead zone for many of us. We don't get into the right position. Breathe. Notice the weight between your hands and your feet. Good. That should give you back some great shoulder mobility. That will come into play when we start doing rowing, because that rowing is where your rotation needs to come from. 2 arms alive, not pulling, not your chest dropping. We'll get into that another time. The next part is going to be your squat to chair. The first squat you ever did as a young tyke was from the ground up, right? We start here, we get up. So technically we haven't finished our squat yet. We need to go down. It is not top to bottom, technically. But if you think about it, you need to overcome gravity to come off of the floor. You have to be coordinated enough. You have to be strong enough when you're a kid. As an adult, we can find a million bad ways to get up. Breathing out, find your stack or your tension or some sense of control, and then come back up. It's kind of like a deadlift at the top, lower back down. Try a few of these. How do you push into the ground? Now, the more you have to lean forward, the harder and less clean this is. I know in Feldenkrais, they do say shift your weight forward and come up. Yes, there's a reason for it, but you can't build strength on top of that. There is a purpose for coming up with a big forward fold. But the stronger you want to be, imagine you're holding a weight. You can't lean forward with that. So maybe your German Shepherd fell asleep on your lap and you want to pick him up. Your grandkid is 10, he's sleeping on you. You can't lean forward and get up like that. You need to be able to put the force through your legs to come up. This is what we're trying to get stronger at. The other part of it, so how do you overcome this? The other part is the yielding. Gravity is working against you. It's trying to pull you down. Your muscles need to open up and yield or give you space to move. If they turn off, you fall into your chair. Not a good plan, because what if there's no chair? What if you're falling? Yielding capacity is that you can slowly lower yourself to the floor with control, or the chair, getting up, overcoming, yielding. Now, some people aren't very good at yielding to a chair all the way down to 90 degrees. Again, another subject. I'll have to forward some information to you about that one. Some of us are too good at yielding. We can drop down. That's a sloppy, that wasn't yielding. That was lack of control. And then coming up is just finding any way to come up. Weird shapes in the back, right there. This is not a good squat. So if that's what you look like, you would not want to add weight onto it. Your back would take quite a payment. The other part is triceps. Now, triceps are fun. This comes back to the rotational. I want you to push into a wall if you can, or push down onto a chair or table. Your triceps insert at the back of the arm and to the elbow. They go across the arm, but let's play with the back of the arm and the back of the elbow. So your tricep does a couple things. It straightens your arm, and even watch the turn that happens, because all bones turn. I don't want you to force it. I want you to, it does its thing. The other part is It keeps your shoulder in the socket. You do not want a shoulder rolling forward. You don't want the arm moving all over the place. We're trying to keep this bone in the socket and then extend the arm. Bend. So this is not a tricep exercise, nor is this one. That's a momentum exercise. So keep your arms alive. You can put any weight you want in your hand. You can push into the chair. You can push into a wall. But one side of your chest has rotated back. The other side has rotated forward. Good. I wouldn't stack it straight because it's just not the way our body likes to work. When you straighten your arm, stop, feel it. It's tucked in. You don't want to compress everything, but the back of your arm is alive and working. You have to pause to feel more out of that muscle. Bend and extend. Breathe out. Remember, we're going back to where are the feet in the floor? How do you use them? Are you rolling out? Are you using your feet? Is gravity winning? You're just locked and sagging into your joints and thrusting the arm. Now, the added benefit of the triceps is at the end, once you start getting the feeling, turn your palm up towards the ceiling. Return it back to center and bend your elbow. Extend your arm, turn your palm the other direction, but turn from the top of the arm, not the wrist. This can help a lot of shoulder and elbow issues, especially if you have tennis elbow and don't play tennis. That is the tricep. It takes work. You won't do two at the same time because it locks you up. And what happens is your brain has to, it can get lazy. It can pay attention to one arm and let the other one just piggyback without getting stronger. Then you'll want to do a little bit of core work with that one. Hands behind your knee, or sorry, hands on your hips and breathe out. Change your breath before you lift your leg and see if your waist muscles take this, or do you just go into your hip flexors? That's a great one to try. If you don't feel like lifting your legs, you can slowly just keep your hands behind your head. Don't push your head because it tightens your neck. Put it here. It's just more weight. You've lifted your arms up. There's more work for your body to do. That's all you're doing there. Then we'll finish off with stretches. Plug your leg into your hip socket. Push your hip socket onto your leg. So for some people that doesn't make sense to, this right here, push your leg up into the socket, and the ability to push your pelvis onto the top of your leg is pretty grand. Keep that feeling as you slowly move your butt cheeks back and forth. If you can't open your knee out like this, I'll show you another option, but it's a slow movement. Your foot is on the floor. You are pushing your pelvis around by how you use this foot. This foot isn't touching the floor, but do you still have control of these bones? Remember, we're going back to the footwork when I asked you to roll in and out. Whatever feeling you got up here, can you recapture it in these stretches? Maybe you open the knee. This is the waistline where most of us move too much. So what we do is we move from the waist, we flex and we extend, or we turn from here. It's never about the hip socket. When you can't move your hip socket, your low back is going to act like a hip. That's usually why we have so much pain. Breathe. Slowly rotate your chest to your knee if you want. Anything you learned in this video about feeling, sensing, changing how you use your foot here, changing how you push your foot here. Where does your breath go? How do you turn the chest, protect the waist? Those all help your stretch. Switching sides, both of your hips should feel slightly different. Even getting your legs up. And at the end of the stretch, did it change? Did it let go? Was it an easier flow? Because if you did 5 breaths with this leg, when you go to put it back up, is it exactly the same, or did it release some of its tension? We're not actually after stretching a muscle. We're after full body integration. So this side isn't clenching for no reason. There's always a reason it's clenching. And another piece is totally becoming disconnected to the rest of it. Triceps, you can bring one arm up. Not everyone has a range of motion. Try to reach down your back first, Then you could grab the other elbow and just give it a little push. You can pull up and lean into the armpit. Look somewhere else and release. Switch sides. Reach down first. If you have shoulder mobility, is a huge factor. That comes a lot from how you manage your upper spine versus your lower spine. Breathe, lean up into it if you can. And release. So this program is really something you can do every day. It's a pull and a push. Very basic to get you started with the biggest flaws, I guess, we find in our bodies is how we manage them, what we sense, why are we doing it? That is physical literacy, and you learned all of it on the playground at one point. We're just trying to recapture it. Have fun, enjoy. Always contact me if you have any questions. Thank you.